All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we're gonna take another look at the weed sector, and it's a mixed bag to say the least. I think at the very minimum, I was clearly expecting more. All right, so what happened? Look, again, I think these two candles are pretty much the whole story here, right? We get the first DEA headline pop, we drop a bit. We get another DEA headline, one from actually Biden basically saying it's about to get rescheduled. Lo and behold, we've dropped a bit, right? There was an offering that kind of got mixed into Tilray, so maybe that's a little bit different, but looking at CGC, there's some good and there's some bad, right? Looking at ACB, there's some good, there's some bad, right? Looking at MSOS, there's a little bit more bad than good right here, right? And again, it's an interesting reaction to, again, what seemed like a really important thing, right? So I'll take us to the fireplace. We will talk about the last couple days after the Biden news. I will for sure give you my thoughts on the Tilray offerings. And really quickly, not sure if you saw this or not, but I got this and I shared this. So there is a new SEC rule that is going to reduce the amount of time you have to wait before your funds are settled. So in the US, you need $25,000 in your trading account to request the ability to be like super liquid, right? Buy and sell without penalty. Others have to wait for this trade plus 2 days, basically a 3-day window, right? It's now moving to trade plus 1, and that's going to start on the 28th. So I think that's actually a really good thing. I think it's going to make volume a little easier, and volume's a good thing, right? So just be on the lookout for that if you didn't see that, all right? But before we go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please subscribe to this channel, share this video online with your friends, comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms, but for real, just being here and giving me your time is super appreciated, all right? So again, before we get into the technicals and the charts, let's take a quick moment to come into the fireplace and let's just talk a little bit, all right? So two main things I want to talk about. So let's start with the Biden tweet, right? So Biden on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, basically confirms that he is moving forward with the reschedulization, all right? So again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, Biden is the most important voice in the United States, all right? Clearly, there are a lot of conspiracy theories and like who runs it, blah, blah, blah. End of the day, the president is the number one voice, right? I said Kamala was number 2, and that's because she's vice president, right? So obviously that's going to hold for him. So him dropping the confirmation really made me question one of two things, all right? Is this going to be a sell the news now that everything is final and he's confirmed it? Or is this going to be the start of new rumors that make me want to buy, okay? I think so far the easy answer is we haven't confirmed, and so far the easy answer is it's sell the news. Now I think when we get to the specific charts, there's a couple that are looking better than most, right? But I'm here looking at the overall sector strength, right? And I think when I see a couple doing okay and a few doing not well, it's hard for me to think good things, all right? And look, I say this all the time. We have to look at history, and we have to believe that history is going to repeat itself until the charts tell us otherwise, right? The last time we saw a DEA boost, we saw about a 33% drop on all of them, give or take. Some more, some less, but yeah, it wasn't pretty. Some fell as much as 50% of the candle, right? So it's one of those things where we saw the dump once, and it kind of seems like we're seeing it again, all right? So I'll get more into the details as we look at the specific charts, but yeah, right now that's disappointing. Listen, I still, excuse me, a little hiccup there. I still believe all the thoughts I said, right? I do believe reschedulization is a really important thing. Ooh, two hiccups, excuse me. Clearly, coming off the schedule is far more important than dropping from 3 to 1. But hey, nonetheless, moving down is that first step forward, right? I do believe, and hey, even Biden said it, so it's not even I believe, it is a fact that the man said, there will be some financial implications from this, and it will be good for companies, all right? We're not at a place yet where consumers are going to see the benefits, right? I don't think we're going to get some like crazy tax reductions and this and that. I think that's very much like state dependent. But the companies should see better things in financing and loans and this and that, right? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good recap of the Biden stuff. Let me know if I missed anything or if you have different opinions. The next thing I want to talk about is the Tilray offering, all right? And I'm going to turn back to the Discord real quick because I said this pretty immediately when it happened. Goodness, I should have just typed an offer. Sorry. I'm sorry. Give me a second. No, not that one. Right here. Okay. So it was the 17th. I believe that was on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So on Friday, there was news that Tilray did an offering. All right. This, I think, is the easiest recap of it. You can obviously pause it and read this whole little thought. All right. But there is absolutely nothing on this chart reader stack that talks about the share count, all right? I have seen a bunch of people talking about float. I personally do absolutely nothing with the float. And truth be told, that's the exact same thing on my personal stacks. The 1 and the 2, I do not care about share count. Now listen, I know a lot of people do. I am not telling you you shouldn't either, right? Like, look, there are so many technicals that I don't use. I mean, so many indicators, right? I would never say don't look at one of them. They're all important if you know what to do with it, right? And hey, I know float matters for a lot. For me, I don't care. Number one, because share count means nothing to me, all right? What I see is offerings are more money in the bank. All right, an offering is a guaranteed sale. They sold some shares, all right, at a point where, don't forget, Tilray, let's just go to the weekly. Tilray was like a falling knife heading down, 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 right? So the fact that they're even getting someone that's saying, hey, I'm down to buy, that's kind of a good thing in my eyes, all right? But offerings are money in the bank. And money in the bank means you don't have to take silly loans. You don't have to get these horrible, horrible debts with horrible, horrible interest. And you can actually start doing immediate things, really, you know, like you have the money to flow it out, right? I think the next thing really is the details. All right, was the offering at a good was the offering at a good price? Like, was it a crazy low price? Are there crazy terms? Like, there are offering details that matter for sure. But all right, but I like offerings. To me, it's and especially in a sector that can't really get good loans yet, right? So I am okay with it. Listen, I always see the market reaction go red immediately, okay? I just think once the details are finalized, it generally kind of recovers, and I am always afraid of reverse splits lingering. Offerings, I don't think linger. I think they come and go, and it's just a real quick bad headline because, again, share count matters to a lot, right? Just doesn't happen to matter to me. So those are my main thoughts on those. Let me know if there was any other thing I missed. Otherwise, yeah, basically at 9 minutes, we will move into Tilray technical. So really quickly, please, if you can subscribe, if you can share, it does wonders with the algorithm. So I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I just said in the fundamentals section. So I number one, apologize if you're hearing the same thing. And number two, if you want to hear it in a little more detail, just go back to the last section, mainly towards the last half of it, I would say. But look, Thursday, we got the Biden headline, all right? It was huge, and I am not here pretending it wasn't huge, all right? The main thing I said across every single ticker was we needed to confirm, all right? There was a really good comment, and I know I forgot to say it in the last video, but look, I generally assume Friday's a loser day, so in all honesty, there was a little bit of me that was like, you know what, Friday wasn't good, maybe Monday will fix it, all right? And today wasn't good enough, obviously, right? Today actually has us under all the moving averages. Today, we're once again back in the tornado, going up and down, up and down. We're now in the downside and clearly under them, right? So the lines are taking over. The Biden headline wasn't enough. We weren't able to confirm. I like offerings if the offering is a good term for the company. All right. There is absolutely nothing here. There's nothing on this screen. Even if I loaded my personal stacks that I personally move my money with, there is absolutely nothing in either of these that talk about share count. So to me, the fact that they're selling shares, that doesn't hurt me, right? I care about the lines. The lines weren't good enough just yet. But hey, I think that the offering will pass. I think that these reds are just kind of an immediate reaction that generally happens. Clearly, I'm disappointed that the confirmation didn't happen. And I think this is still the money line. We need to close over 221 for me to believe in Tilray. All right. Look, I like that the MACD is trying to stay positive. That's definitely a low RSI. Volume's a little iffy. It's all about the moving out. It is all about this right here. We're basically just living in this channel right now. We've been here for what, a month now, right? We are now coming into the 4th week, right? So we need to break out of this. The last thing we can do is lose 185. All right. So these are still the two lines that matter. You can make the argument that 213, 214 might be an important line that'll get you over this candle. It'll get you over all the moving averages. I think I'm going to want a little bit more, again, especially considering how many moving averages are so stacked on the daily. Where are we on the weekly? What number is this? Yeah, again, look, I think you can make that argument even on the weekly chart, talking about 213, 214, 215. I think end of the day, I would rather just wait a couple extra pennies, give me a little bit more to believe. This weekly is saying if, and it's a big if, it is, but if we break that 221, we might make a move to 250, if not higher, right? So, look, I expected more. We couldn't confirm. And that is why I always stress the confirmation, right? The last just thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to echo it against all of them. We saw the DEA news take us up and bring us all the way down, all right? In a lot of ways, it makes sense that we went up basically till right here and then made our way back down, right? So, you know, we're not here to fall in love with tickers. You know, if you watch my videos, I love this sector. I do. Personally, I've lost a lot of money on it in my early days, but hey, I believe the vices never die. I know a lot of people really like that comment from the last video. Vices never die. If it, knock on wood, if I lost money, I will find a way to have my vices tomorrow, right? Like, it's one of those things, I will eat some bad food, but I'm gonna keep my vices kind of thing, you know? So I believe in the sector, right? But there are still a lot of laws that are not helping this thing. There are still there's a lot that needs to happen, right? But at the minimum, we need to get on the better side of the moving averages, and it's been a bit since that happened, right? Really, since this earnings drop, right? I will end it with this. I'm kind of dragging a bit more. I think we're doing a little better so far than the last earnings, but really, as I zoom out and look at it, it is kind of the same like trajectory. That slope is arguably the same, and you know, it's a little bit of a scary RSI too when you zoom like that. Tilray's not ready yet. It's not, right? So get me over this. It's the last time I'm going to say it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into a couple here. So what I'm going to do is group a few in this one, because that's what I've been doing, right? We have CGC. We have ACB. All right, ACB I would say looks better than CGC. We have HITI, all right. Ooh, not as good as this one. Interesting. I would have taken that one out if I saw it. And then SNDL. Those four seemed very similar to me. It now actually looks like, I'm looking at this fresh, you can see. It's really the first two and the second two. So let me see what I do with this video. I think I'm going to start with CGC and ACB. Okay, so why did okay, real quick, sorry. If you can please subscribe and share, it does wonders, okay? The reason I grouped those four 4 together was because actually on the last video, all 4 of them were above all 5 moving averages. All right, you can see this one is still actually over. ACB was also over. The last 2, unfortunately, I've started to lose a couple moving average lines, right? But listen, there are a couple things jumping out immediately, and I'm actually not too sure which one to give more credit to. All right. First and foremost, we are still over the 8 and the 20. My like, you hear me say it all the time, bad things happen under those lines, good things happen over those lines. And hey, this thing is still over it. All right. And as much as it's not the prettiest still over it, as much as it's not the prettiest riding of it since what, end of April, right? I mean, it's not the prettiest, but it is the ride, right? Like, this is still over the lines. I actually still see the green wanting to go up too. Like, I'm not seeing these lines curving down. I'm seeing the 100 getting ready to golden cross the 200, right? Like, these moving averages aren't bad. They're really, really not, okay? Excuse me. The thing that I'm not liking is twofold. Number one, we are well below. We're actually almost completely under it, but we're well below half of the Thursday Biden candle. All right, I don't like that. More so, where we're at right now, we've probably lost 75% of this big candle. All right, I don't like how we're sitting to the 2 important candles to the left. That bothers me. Now, listen, we're still over the 2 moving averages, and I think in a lot of ways, these 2 probably have more weight. These 2 are very, very tight. You can see they're literally pennies apart from each other, right? So it should be very difficult to lose them, right? But the problem is if we lose those 2 lines, we might be coming all the way down to almost 8. That's a 20% drop from up here to here, right? If you lose these 2, you're coming down to the next one. I think that's I think my death line would be 950. I would be real scared to start pushing into that 960, 950. Really, the first death line is kind of $10. I don't want to go too deep below $10, right? 50 cents is obviously a decent way below it, but candle to candle, I'm not happy. Holding the lines, I'm happy. All right. That's actually the same thoughts on ACB. Okay. Now, this one's a little bit better, but look, Doji doesn't count. Okay. Doji does not count. This is not a good day. Hey, I like the little golden cross right there. 8 did go over the 20. I for sure see that, right? But we're holding a little better to 50% here for sure. We're probably a little under 50% here. I think that's probably a little closer to the top of this guy, right? But again, how do I say this? Though this looks better, I don't want to overhype this because dojis don't count. You always hear me say that, right? So same kind of ugly RSI, volume isn't great on either of these, right? So a little bit rough. Did I freeze? There we go. Sorry about that. A little bit rough on those 2, right? Let me, I guess, just go into... no, I'll keep them separate. I will. I'll keep them separate. Let me look at the weekly really quickly. Weekly's still over the 8. ACB. Weekly still over the 8. Weekly's actually still going up, but obviously we got that 100 moving average on ACB, right? So... yeah, again, neither of them look bad on the moving average side. All right. And hey, I live and die by these 5 lines, right? Like I love me the moving averages. I have a slightly different version on the 1 and the 2, but believe me when I say it, I love me moving average theory, right? So it's an interesting one too, right? Like moving averages ain't bad. Almost everything else is, right? So kind of take your pick. We obviously need some good headlines to say the least. If I was to give a money line, I think 1125 sounds like a good number. I think even 1115 would be arguable because I think I'd like to make that. You know what? Let's do 1111. Maybe we'll call it 1111, and that'll take us up hopefully to 1311. That's a decent 20% move right there. Rough math, right? $2. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. I'm gonna lump in high tide SNDL, and then MSOS. So again, high tide looks like this. It was over all the moving averages on Thursday, has clearly come down since. SNDL was over all the moving averages, has lost one. Hey, not two or more, but it did lose one. And then MSOS, again, it was over all of them, made the run to 1050, and we're now back under a bunch, right? So definitely not the way that these three were supposed to go, right? So, and it's ironic that we have two Canadian and one US one, given that the US headline of reschedulization was the thing that made Thursday move, right? So I think the big story with these three is going to be confirmation. All right, as excited as I was on Thursday, and right, I'm not pretending that I wasn't excited. I liked again, all three of these. Look at it. You can just see it from here. Over all the moving averages, it was a positive MACD with green over red. It was a nice RSI with green over red. You know, it's just one of those things. The technicals were there, right? SNDL, same thing. Green over red, positive. Green over red, pretty healthy number. Still could have gone up, right? Over all the MAs. MSOS, same story, right? Over them all. Good positive MACD, good green over red, flat with a nice volume, right? So technicals aren't here to pretend that there's a moving, that there's a crystal ball or anything, right? Confirmation is king. I think the MSOS one was the shadiest because look, we actually open up here. We gap up, open, and then lose the entire candle on Friday. That was super shady, and obviously today was a really ugly candle, right? We went from me thinking we were, and I'm not pretending I was wrong, right? Like, I went from thinking 1050 was about to break to, my goodness, are we about to lose 908? All right, like, we've used this 100 moving average pretty well. We've bounced. Let's see if we can do it again. I've always said around that fourth or fifth bounce is where I start to get nervous, right? There's only so much power a line can have before it's going to lose it, right? So we're here. We're now here on number 4. Again, as much as I need confirmation up, we need confirmation down, right? So the worst thing that can happen is this thing closes around 875. If this thing comes to 875, I think there's a decent shot at this thing dropping basically to 775. I'm kind of rounding up a little bit, rounding down, right? But be careful with MSOS, all right? High tide and SNDL, I think, have a little bit better going on because there's a few moving averages here. And look, we went from above them to below them to above them. Better, like, I think these three should hold. And hey, that's not as scary a drop down, right? If we were to lose it. So I would call our death line 211. Keep me over 211. If you close under 211, we're probably coming down to sub 2, maybe even 2, because it looks like that 100's going up. And then lastly, SNDL, right? Same thing. That's a bad Friday. This thing actually gaps up and then goes all the way below the 8, right? So I think today's candle might have been a little more expected. That's not horrible in terms of that, because that's a bad Friday. That's not a horrible Monday, right? So I think the 20 is doing a pretty good job, and it's actually been doing a pretty good job too. So I think I have a little more confidence that the 20 will hold here, but yeah, I think it's fair to move this to this side, right? Oh, it looks like the red over green is on both the MACD and RSI. Not necessarily a big fan of that, but I think if volume can pick up, really, this thing needs to just get over 250, okay? Personally, I wouldn't buy in unless this broke 280. I would want to get over this line, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good review on all of these. Hey, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree, hey, thank you so much.